Welcome to Reddit Blue Pill Red Pill, where we go over Reddit stories and predict the outcome of the stories. Please listen and play along by typing in your choices into the comments. There are 5 seconds to answer, or you can pause the video. Today we have a story about a woman who is at odds with her husband over her pregnancy. All right, let's get on to the story.
I, 27 female, have been with my husband, 29 male, for 5 years, married for 3 of those years. Our marriage was perfect, and we were so happy. It felt like our entire life was perfect. Church on Sunday, loving husband, beautiful home, all of it. A few months into our marriage, I became pregnant, and my husband and I were overjoyed, and so was the rest of our family. My husband was especially happy after finding out our baby was a boy, as he'd always told me he wanted at least one son. I even started to try to attempt to repair my relationship with my mother so our son could have a relationship with his grandparents. I had originally cut off most contact with my mother due to how she treated my brother when he married his husband, though my brother said he was all right with my decision to try to get her back in my life since he still has love for her, and my baby was her first grandchild.
The OP is married and was pregnant shortly after marrying her husband. The OP even sought out to reconnect with her mother in order for her to be a part of her grandchild's life. Her husband is particularly happy because their child will be a boy, which is what the husband wanted. I believe it is also common for women to prefer to have girls. I personally always wanted a girl, but it seems I am in the minority. Or am I? What would be your preference when it comes to having a child? If you would prefer the child to be the same sex you are, then type Q1 blue in the comments. If you would prefer the child be the opposite sex or have no preference, type Q1 red.
However, our son ended up stillborn, and it broke me. I fell into a depression and even at one point considered taking my life, but my husband was there for me during all of it, and we got through the grief. Our marriage felt stronger than ever, and life started slowly feeling beautiful again, even if it no longer felt perfect.
Unfortunately, the OP's child was stillborn, and it understandably took a huge toll on her. But while her husband must have been upset to lose his child and also the boy he'd always wanted to have, her husband got her through this challenging time, and their lives slowly recuperated. I am happy the husband stepped up when he was needed the most, and they could try again in the future if they so decide to. There are no questions here, so let's continue.
About 5 months ago, I found out I'm pregnant again, and then found out soon after that we're having triplets. My husband and I were over the moon, and he was the most doting and loving husband. Since we had always said we wanted 2 to 3 children, we agreed we wouldn't try for any more children after this. Because of our and our family's excitement for the triplets, we decided to throw a baby shower and gender reveal party. We trusted my brother with the genders of the triplets, and he bought some confetti cannons with the colored streamers inside. The baby shower went wonderfully with my parents, in-laws, my brother and his husband and their daughter, and tons of friends and extended family. It was like a dream come true, and I was so excited for the gender reveal. I don't care what the gender of our babies was, I just wanted healthy little babies. But my husband was clearly excited for potentially 3 sons. When the time came, me, my husband, and my brother all shot a confetti cannon, and all 3 shot out pink confetti. I was so excited, and so was my brother. But my husband screamed at the top of his lungs and hit the table in front of us, hitting it so hard that it actually broke. He screamed at me that I was supposed to give him at least one son because I killed his first one.
Wow, this story took a drastic turn. The OP became pregnant again, and this time with triplets. Her husband once again doted on her as he had during the previous pregnancy, and things seemed to be going well thus far. She entrusted her brother to handle the gender reveal portion of the party, while the OP and her husband would be the ones surprised. Unfortunately, this proved to be a mistake because her husband exploded in anger once it was revealed the triplets would be all girls. Not only that, the husband also blames the OP for directly killing their first child, which was a boy. We will get to the husband's response later, but let's focus on the idea of a gender reveal. Knowing that the husband was so desperate to have a boy, and knowing that they were not going to try again for more kids since they don't want to have more than 3 kids, then I think it was a mistake to hide the genders of the babies and reveal them only during the baby shower and in front of everyone. Then again, gender reveal parties are all the rage right now, but they could have known the genders first and then done the reveal to the family at the party. After all, there was no guarantee that at least one of the children would be a boy, and perhaps finding that out while at home, away from all the spectacle of a party, may have softened the blow for the husband. What do you think? If you would have not hidden the genders of the babies, knowing how much it meant to the husband, type Q2 blue in the comments. If you would have done things the same way because there was no way to predict the husband would explode in the way he did, type Q2 red.
That's when I burst into tears. I had been so broken up about our son's stillbirth, and a part of me had felt it was my fault, and now he, my husband, was telling me that it was. My brother immediately stepped in and tried to get my husband to calm down, but my husband shoved my brother, so my brother instead pulled me inside where I cried in the living room while my husband's mother tried to calm him down. I could hear him screaming outside about how 3 daughters is too many, how he doesn't want 4 kids, but he also wants a son. Ever since that moment, my husband has hardly talked to me. He's been sleeping in the guest room, and when we do interact, he's clearly upset and mad and tries to argue with me. I tried to talk to him about it and asked about how he'll be with our 3 daughters, but he spat at me and told me he will provide them shelter and food, but he isn't interested in daughters and doesn't plan to have a close relationship with them. That sealed the deal that I want to divorce him, and I cried myself to sleep last night.
I truly hope that the husband was speaking out of anger when he said he would not be having a close relationship with his kids because they are all going to be girls. But if not, then this is just an antiquated way of thinking that I cannot comprehend. How can you not feel any love for your own children unless they are male? Was the husband always going to act in this way with his daughters, not really being a part of their lives and only just basically providing a roof over their heads while he doted on his sons? Or would he have treated his daughters well if he also had a son, since he would be so happy in general that it would rub off on his daughters too? We don't know the cultural background of this family to understand if this is just part of the husband's upbringing or if this is just his personal feelings. The husband didn't seem to act in a misogynistic manner beforehand. He was a doting husband who seemed to help the OP during both pregnancies and has provided a good life for them and their future family. What do you think? If you would give the husband a pass for now only if this need for sons was part of his upbringing and he had been otherwise an exemplary husband, then type Q3 blue in the comments. If you cannot excuse this behavior under any circumstances, type Q3 red.
Earlier today, I confided in my mother and mother-in-law about all this, but they told me I can't divorce my husband just because he wants a son. I don't want my daughters to grow up in an unloving household where their parents constantly argue and their father doesn't love them. The moment my husband said I killed our son, I felt as though I lost all love I had for him in an instant, and I don't want my daughters to be in that kind of household. However, both my mom and mother-in-law say it's just natural for men to want sons, and that at least he isn't saying he'll mistreat them. They treated this as absolute fact and acted as though I'm just a silly little girl who doesn't know anything. I felt incredibly small and stupid. I don't know what to do. My mother and mother-in-law make me feel like maybe I'm overreacting to my husband's behavior, but my brother says this is not normal, as he and his husband are both men who absolutely love their daughter. I'm also not sure of what I'll do with myself if I divorce my husband. I don't work, and I'm not sure how I'll be able to find a job that can support me and 3 babies all on my own, or how I'll make time for all of them when I have to work. I feel so lost and helpless. I'm torn on what to do because I worry divorce will be too brash of a decision and that maybe my mother and mother-in-law are right. Am I the a-hole? What should I do?
Okay, let's discuss the husband's continued mistreatment of the OP.
I personally feel that he was completely out of line, and I do not fault the OP at all for considering divorce. How can the OP have a future with a man who has clearly said he will be an absentee father to his daughters and who personally blames her for their first child dying? The OP went to her mother and mother-in-law for guidance, and they both underscored the husband's behavior. I get the feeling that both sets of families come from more traditional and old-fashioned cultural norms, and they just don't see the husband's behavior as warranting divorce. They said the OP can't divorce her husband only because he wanted a son, since that is normal for men. But that's not the reason the OP wants a divorce at all. She doesn't trust her husband to love his daughters as a father should. Not to mention, she doesn't want to remain with a man who personally blames her for the death of what would have been his only son. How can all this just be ignored? But the OP is in a tough spot financially. She does not work, and once she gives birth, then it would be even harder since the babies will need to be taken care of. She could ask her mother or mother-in-law for help to allow her to find a job, but something tells me neither one will be helping the OP in order to force her to remain married and dependent on her husband. What do you think of this tragic situation? If you think the OP is the a-hole for contemplating divorcing over this situation, type Q4 red in the comments. If you think the OP is correct and should divorce her husband, type Q4 blue. Now let's listen to a few comments.
First, stop sharing your feelings on this and your plans on this with your mother-in-law and mother. They made you feel like you are wrong. This guy says he isn't going to care for them, right? He blamed you for a stillborn baby and has spat on you. You can't stay with this guy. If you get pregnant again, no guarantee it would be a boy. What then? He meant everything he said because he still isn't talking to you. Think about it. He spat on you like you were a piece of trash over something you have no control of. Chew on that for a bit. Stop talking and listening to them. You cannot stay with him. You have to know that.
Not the a-hole. You're not divorcing him because he wants a son. You're divorcing him because he has said some truly unforgivable things. I'm so sorry about your son. Please know it wasn't your fault. Your husband's truly vile to say what he did, and that alone is grounds to end your marriage. Good luck, OP.
Not the a-hole. I would sleep with one eye open knowing the dude in the other room thinks weird thoughts like that. I'd also move far away now and change my name. He ain't normal.
Yes, and maybe slip him a biology text so he knows he made 3 daughters. You have nothing whatsoever to do with the sex of them, and it's logical what mother-in-law's opinion is. Your husband wasn't raised in a vacuum, and you'll have 3 daughters. You can't raise them with the bar as low as your mother and mother-in-law think is normal. At least he doesn't hit you. He'll just insult you, spit at you, and won't love you. Lucky you.
Hate to break it to your husband, but it's the sperm that determines gender. He's the one who gave you 3 daughters, not the other way around. Also, he spat at you? Get away from him. He's toxic.
Absolutely divorce him. He's violent, vicious, cruel, and insane. Your mother and mother-in-law are loony too. You didn't kill your son any more than you chose the gender of your current babies. What absolute nonsense. Divorce him now. Then he can provide for but not have a close relationship with his daughters from day one. Much better to do it now than have them fall in love with daddy and let them break their hearts. Frankly, if he's breaking tables, the next things will be your bones, and after that, your daughters. Run.
Oh, honey, you are not overreacting. Walk away from that man right now. I don't care how upset he was. His accusation that you killed your son was inexcusable, as was his physically violent outburst. He has shown you his true self, and it is monstrous. He won't be a good father to your girls, and that will harm them immeasurably. They will be far better off with a loving single mother than with that pig anywhere near them. It's not going to be easy, but your daughter's mental health growing up is the most important thing. Your own mother will get over it and eventually take your side. Your mother-in-law raised a terrible son, so the sooner that side of the family is totally out of your life, the better. I wish you the best going forward. Not the a-hole, but the more you try to convince us you had a perfect marriage, the more you are just trying to convince yourself. Clearly, underneath the veneer of perfection was some major underlying issues that were continuously degrading as they went unaddressed, ultimately leading to this major outburst and realization that, underneath it all, your husband is nothing more than an emotionally unstable, toxic, abusive piece of crap. It's quite often seen within the church-going circles. A healthy marriage isn't a perfect marriage, but it's a marriage filled with communication, honesty, compromise, love, and respect, none of which seems to have come from your husband.
Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching all the way to the end and participating. Please consider liking and subscribing to watch future videos. Goodbye.